Hey guys, so another day of exploring, and the sights are just absolutely beautiful once again in Malta. I know I keep saying that, but so I wanted to come here and see this, which is a Knights of Malta tower. It's basically like a watchtower that they used to look out over the bay, which you guys cannot see as beautiful as I can here in person, but I wish you could, so I'll try to do my best. But this tower would overlook this bay coming into Malta, and it was a defensive tower for the Knights of Malta, or the Order of St. John, I believe. And so this was a fortified structure. It carried a certain amount of men. I'm not exactly how sure or how many, but it carried a fair amount of men in there, and there's a few of them scattered around. There's actually one more up in that direction. There's one that's further down that way on the point, and they're scattered throughout the whole island. So there was the Order of the Knights for St. John, and they had this, I want to say like the 1500s or so. I'll have to double check on that. But in the meantime, I figured this would be a good opportunity before I go walking out in that direction behind me, which I think is where I'm going to go. I thought that this would be a good opportunity to tell you a little bit of the history of Malta. I've had a lot of people ask me, where is Malta? And it's so beautiful and all of that, and I hope that you can hear me through this wind. I'm going to try to move over somewhere where the wind is slightly more blocked. But at any rate, Malta is a country in the Mediterranean, and it's been controlled by several different people that I'll cover here in a minute, but it's basically only 122 square miles, and which is about 316 kilometers, and the capital of Malta is Valletta, which is close to where I was staying in St. Julian's Bay. So this was actually controlled way back by the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, also the Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Arabs, the Normans, the Sicilians, the Spanish. It's been controlled by everybody. Now the king of Spain actually turned this over to the Knights of Malta, the Order of St. John, and they had control of it for a few hundred years. And then since then it had changed hands a few more times, but not to go through all of that, it was the last control of Malta was by England. And so Malta gained their independence from England in 1964. So I'll give you guys a little better view here. So in 1964, and they gained their independence from them then. So it seems as though England had everything. At one point, I know they were a very large empire. So the top two languages in Malta actually are Maltese, which is sort of a cross between Arabic and Italian. If I had to say what it sounded like, that's the way it would sort of sound like. And the second most spoken language in Malta is English. So if you're an English speaking person, you can come to Malta fairly easily. Just about everybody in Malta knows how to speak English, mostly because it was an English colony at one point. And so, and all English colonies go, they all drive on the wrong side of the road here. So it's just kind of funny. So it is a Christian nation, although there is some Muslim influence here, obviously left over from the Arab control. And it's actually very, it's a very biblical place, or it was actually mentioned in the Bible, in Acts of the Apostles, I believe it was. And this is supposedly where St. Paul's shipwrecked was, in Malta. So that's pretty interesting information there. So that's why in Malta you'll see a lot of there's a lot of Catholics. Catholicism is the largest form of religion in Malta, and so it's home to 3 World Heritage UNESCO sites, and actually one of them dates the temples of, I can't remember the name, but the temples of Artemidi, I think. I don't know, don't quote me on that. But they actually go back as far back as 3600 BC. And I hope to go see those before I leave here, because it would be amazing to see that. 3600 BC. Wow. Those are some old temples. You can look them up online. Also, you can Google them and find them online. And then, so there's some brief history on Malta, and it is become a very tourist destination also. And there's a lot of tourists that come here. It's starting to get busy now. It's starting to get into the season. May, June, July, and so forth is obviously the season. It starts getting warmer and things start getting more expensive. So if you want to visit Malta, I would suggest visiting Malta. I'm sorry, I'm pacing. Let me just keep giving you guys this beautiful view here. But if you want to visit Malta, I would say visit Malta in April. Mid to end of April, just like I did, because the prices are a lot less expensive, and there's enough things open that you can still get a flavor of Malta. Because when you get here in May or so, it starts getting a little bit more pricey. So, but anyway, more to come from Malta. I think I'm actually going to extend my stay at the place that I'm at now for another 3 or 4 nights. And I've also booked, I couldn't book the one that I wanted to go on, which was a Turkish ship, or Turkish boat, which I believe is that one right there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it tours the islands and the caves, and it also goes to Gozo. But I ended up booking a different one, so I'm leaving tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. To come down to the boat, and then I'm going to go off on an adventure. So I'll show you guys all of that information, or all of that stuff. Also the caves, the Blue Lagoon, the Crystal Lagoon, and a few other places. So more to come from Malta, especially tomorrow. So right now I'm just sort of out walking around again and exploring. So I'll show you what else I find. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, looking back on my notes to make sure I covered everything, I forgot that they believe the first inhabitants of Malta were in 5200 BC. So the temples of 3200 are the oldest, one of the oldest known freestanding structures in the world at 3200 BC, but they believe that it was inhabited at 5200 BC by people from Sicily who came over here. And then also I forgot to mention to you that the Normans took Malta from the Arabs in 1091, and they were part of the Kingdom of Sicily up until 1530. So then that was when the Order of the Knights took over, and the Spanish king, well, the Spanish king took over it, and then the Spanish king turned it over to the Knights of Malta, or the Knights of St. John. So there's some more information I forgot to tell you. So those islands that were behind me there's a placard over here that I didn't see before, and it says that it's called the St. Paul Islands, the Solomon family, but these islands are traditionally known as one of the possible sites where the ship carrying St. Paul on the journey from Jerusalem to Rome in Acts chapters 27 and 28 ran aground during a wild storm in 60 AD. A stone statue commemorating the shipwreck was erected on the larger of the two islands in 1845. One may visit these islets in good weather by taking a 10-minute boat trip. These short rides are organized by local tour operators, etc., etc. So that is that middle island out there, and you can barely see that structure on there, but that is the structure erected in the 1800s for St. Paul. So, cool.